Super excited to talk to you today about how you can make sure to make a great case for the fantastic work happening on your campus to people who are dealing with a million other things. When we're talking about policy environments, folks in the legislature, folks in the federal government, how do you make a better case to describe this work? And how do we educate people about the real provocative challenges around student success? Stay tuned. I have a super fantastic, not only is he really awesome, nice guy, but he's actually someone who has a depth of experience about this topic and a variety of others. So I'm super excited to introduce you to my friend and soon to be yours, John Fitzpatrick of Educate Texas. And John, I'm going to bring you on right now. Welcome. Super excited to have you. So John is, well, he's a buddy that we met through the Gates Scaling Partners. Turns out you care about this stuff and you've been working in this different space in Texas. Tell us a little bit about kind of what is Educate Texas and who are you? What's your deal?
Right. What's my deal? Well, hey, Bridget, it's great to be with you. Tremendous respect for you as a leader. Just think it's incredibly impactful and cool what you are doing through the University Innovation Alliance. I'm executive director of an outfit called Educate Texas. We're part of a community foundation. We work statewide in Dallas, and we basically do three things. Like a lot of community foundations, we raise money and we grant it out. So we would do a lot of work directly with community colleges and universities and school districts trying to, improve completion and graduation rates. We actually do a lot of technical assistance and sort of sending people out to coach, and work with faculty in schools. And third, we spend a lot of time on state policy. So we're trying to sort of shift the energy in Texas, around things like transfer and workforce development and student completion. So basically handing out money for grants, technical assistance and coaching, and policy.
So let's talk about the, I'm curious about the policy piece and the technical assistance. Although, hello, grants. Nobody's uninterested in that. So when an institution comes to you and you see that they have a really important argument to make that is timely and it matters to, especially the legislature in Austin, what kind of advice do you give them? Like, what's kind of your first conversation like in terms of framing how to talk to the legislature?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first and most important thing is it's got to be a story. I think in higher ed, our default is to talk about articulation agreements and course loads, and it's just like Charlie Brown's teacher. It's like wah 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 wah, and we just kill interest out of the box. But when you start talking either about a student, or a company, or a family, but when you start talking about there's a dream, there's a vision, and here's what we're doing to help this student, this company, this community achieve its vision, it gets people's attention in a different way. And then I would say second, statistics are great, but it's got to be a small number of statistics that matter, instead of sort of the dump truck, that we tend to do in higher ed, where we're just vomiting all over people with all sorts of statistics. Honestly, policymakers have very little sense about what those statistics matter. And I'm happy to give some examples of both, the narrative as well as some of the statistics that we've used so your viewers can kind of have something to hang their hat on.
Yeah, so give me an example of one of the terrible statistics someone has pitched you and then how you kind of massaged it into something less bad.
Sure. So we spend a lot of time talking about transfer rates and, how do we improve transfer rates in Texas? And there's a lot of debate between the 2 years and the 4 years. So we were looking at individual transfer rates by institution, by region, by system. And we basically grabbed on one macro statistic for the state, that out of the 50 states in the United States, Texas is the most dependent on transfer from community college to 4-year than any other state in the country. And 72% of people that earn a baccalaureate in Texas either transfer or take, a ton of credits at community college. So regardless of your opinion of transfer or community college or starting in a 4-year, we're number one in 50. We got to figure out a way to make it work. And it also, for Texans, hubris like New York and Alaska. When you meet someone from Texas in Europe, they'll say they're from Texas, not from the United States. We like to be number one. I wouldn't pick us being number one in transfer, but we work with it.
So when you are trying to explain policy to folks who work in the academic space, one thing that I ran into when I used to be a chief of staff for a university system and had to do, I was the head lobbyist for them. But sometimes we wouldn't win, right? And they just did not understand, like, we have the facts, right? But like, why are they not doing exactly as we expected? Like, how do you help them understand the decision-making calculus and frankly, how there is a pecking order and there is a room back in the back that nobody wants to talk about, where 3 people are actually going to make all the decisions that come down in the last week of session. How do you explain that in a way that doesn't like totally bum them out? Yeah.
So, I think most university or community college presidents understand the relational nature of donors and sort of how you develop relationships in the fundraising space. It's the same thing in politics and policy. It is very relational, whether it's with, the member of the legislature that represents your institution or the one who happens to chair the key committee that it's going through. And it's a long-term play. You can't go in there just when you have something that you need, just like you would never go in with a donor you hadn't met before. You've got to go from cold to warm to hot and develop the right relationship with that legislature, with that staff, with that committee, with that governor, with that speaker. And it's a long-term play, very similar to how you develop something with a major donor.
Awesome. Okay. Super helpful. So quick, rapid fire. What is your favorite legislative victory that you've been a part of?
Favorite legislative victory was having 10% performance funding as part of the way that community colleges get paid.
Cool. Hardest legislative loss?
Not getting performance funding for 4 years.
Okay, cool. And what advice would you give someone who is coming in and wanting to try and kind of help make this all better and better connect the policymakers who really have to make complex decisions, the folks who are trying to shepherd the work on the campuses? Now that you've been doing this for how long have you been doing?
About 15 years. Okay,
so if you had to give advice to baby John Fitzpatrick, coming in hot, fresh, what are the top 1 or 2 takeaways that you've learned over the past few years that you wish you'd known before you started?
I think one is you've got to simplify it. So much what we do in higher ed is we try to, explain all the complicated things and all the challenges, and we've just got to boil it down, to what the headline issue is. And I think the second is we've got to acknowledge the flaws. Like probably the biggest thing that I realized coming in is just in Texas, whether it's for flagships or regional universities, we've got a real dropout and retention problem. And it's not something we put on the materials. It's not something that's out there. We've got to talk about that in the context of all the great things that are happening in terms of research and innovation and student success and student support. But we've got to share, like, the reason we're here, is we're not getting it done for students. Here's the issues, whatever they are, and here's why what we're talking to you about is going to make a difference.
Yeah.
But when you don't share that, we have a 56% graduation rate for 4-year universities in Texas, and if you take out UT and A&M, it's below 50%. Like, people don't know that, and if they hear it from you and you're honest, it changes the rest of the conversation.
Well, this was awesome, but I'm so grateful for you sharing some of your wisdom here to the folks who we're trying to support as they try and take their student success work to the next level. So thank you. And how can people reach out to Educate Texas? How can people find out more? Do you hang out on Twitter? Do you hang out on, where can people find you?
Yeah, if you go to our website, just Google Educate Texas, you can find me, shoot me an email. Would love to either share what we're doing, or help learn something new from people watching.
Awesome. Well, so excited to have had you on here. Again, thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow in DC, but for the rest of you all, everyone have a great day.